Hello, Vikings fans! Welcome to Skol Nation Vikings Daily, your go-to source for all things Minnesota Vikings. Today, we have an exciting discussion about the observations made by none other than Aaron Rodgers, who recently shared his thoughts on the Minnesota Vikings defense under the leadership of defensive coordinator Brian Flores. If you're curious about what Rodgers had to say and how the Vikings defense is shaping up this season, stick around. We know that the Minnesota Vikings, under Brian Flores' direction, have quickly become one of the most formidable defensive units in the NFL. Through the first 5 weeks of the 2024 season, they've achieved a dominant record of 5 consecutive victories, and the numbers back up their excellence on the field. The Vikings rank first in defensive defense-adjusted value over average, interceptions and opponent, expected points added per play, second in sacks, and fourth in points allowed. This is a defense that gives opposing quarterbacks nightmares with its complex schemes and execution at the highest level. Aaron Rodgers, quarterback for the New York Jets, took time on the Pat McAfee show to delve deep into what makes this Vikings defense so different. Rodgers, who has faced Flores-led defenses before, praised the strategic complexity of the Vikings unit. Rodgers highlighted how Flores has instilled a sense of discipline and aggressiveness in his players, which allows them to capitalize on opportunities for turnovers. They definitely had a couple wrinkles on third down, Rodgers said. For the most part, they were dropping interior guys coming in the plan, and they dropped Van Ginkel right into the throwing lane, and he had a pick six on me, which was a great play by him. According to Rodgers, it's not just about the raw talent of the players, but how Flores has been able to maximize that talent with a game plan that keeps offenses guessing. The constant pre-snap movement, disguised coverages, and blitz-heavy approach are staples of Flores' scheme, making it incredibly difficult for quarterbacks to read the defense correctly. Rodgers went on to highlight how Flores has instilled a sense of discipline and aggressiveness in his players. It's like they're always one step ahead, Rodgers noted, referencing the Vikings' impressive league-leading interception numbers. This level of defensive awareness is something Rodgers emphasized, saying that quarterbacks have to be exceptionally careful with the ball when facing the Vikings, as they're ready to pounce on any mistake. I think what's lost maybe in the conversation around Brian Flores, which he deserves a lot of credit, he's done a really nice job, is how good they've been on first and second down. A lot of movement up front and some different types of fronts. They're in 3-down lineman personnel and running 4-down spacing in some of these fronts, which is different. Rodgers gave credit to Flores' adaptability and the way he uses the flexibility of his players to create different fronts and pressure packages. Very good scheme by him, and the execution, obviously, is the most important thing. They have all the different looks with different guys, different spots. They can play cover 2 sky from it. They can play straight up Tampa 2. They can play where the corners are the half-field players. They can bring everybody. They can play 1 high out of that. They can play 44-man out of that, he said. Very good scheme by him, and the execution, obviously, is the most important thing. They have all the different looks with different guys, different spots. They can play cover 2 sky from it. They can play straight up Tampa 2. They can play where the corners are the half-field players. They can bring everybody. They can play 1 high out of that. They can play 44-man out of that. But this discussion wouldn't be complete without bringing in another perspective, that of famed NFL commentator Stephen A. Smith, who didn't hold back in his assessment of Rodgers' performance in the Vikings' 23-17 win over the Jets. Rodgers' struggles were evident throughout the game as he threw a pick six to linebacker Andrew Van Ginkel in the first quarter, giving the Vikings a 10-0 lead early on. It was only the 6th time in Rodgers' illustrious career that he threw 3 interceptions in a game, with his last such performance coming in 2022. Smith's analysis, combined with Rodgers' own insights, paints a fascinating picture of a possible future showdown between the Jets and Vikings. While Rodgers has immense respect for Flores' defense, he remains confident in his own ability to navigate such challenges. Still, Smith cautioned that the Vikings' defense, with their ability to generate pressure and force turnovers, could be a tough obstacle for the Jets, especially considering Rodgers' recent challenges with his offensive line. As the Vikings head into the rest of the season, fans should be excited about the prospects of this defense continuing to make waves in the NFL. Whether it's forcing turnovers or sacking the quarterback, Brian Flores has built a unit that not only frustrates offenses, but also positions the Vikings as serious contenders in the NFC North. So, Vikings fans, what do you think about Aaron Rodgers' take on our defense? Are you as excited as we are about how the team is shaping up this season? Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay updated on everything happening with the Minnesota Vikings. And as always, go Vikings!